Okay, so here we are. We are live. I'm not going to talk on this first round. I'm really excited tonight, you guys. We'll wait maybe just for a second and see. The girls are supposed to jump on here, and so it shares. I've learned if I share it to other pages from here, then it's like a whole bunch of separate broadcasts all
Yeah.
over. So I want the admin to share it to a couple of other places, so then it works out better. But I don't know, everybody seems to be busy. But anyway, so you guys, welcome to episode number 3 of the BAM series. We're super excited to have Ian Rader up in the house.
Woo!
Yep, we're stoked. We were supposed to have Rob on, but Rob got called into a job that he's been waiting to get, and so obviously that paper was more important, and Ian was like luckily not doing anything, was able to jump on and talk. But we're in Utah. I'm out in Salt Lake County. He's just in the county over. Um, I guess the kind of idea that we decided to bring this out is everybody. We're in a crazy time right now in our world, and it's only getting crazier. Praise God, the elections are tomorrow, and so we want them to do it that crazy, but we've got, in our field and in the people field and of helping people, we've got, and addictions. We got a lot of people in fear and in panic and anxiety setting in, and we've got a lot of craziness happening, and it's only going to get worse because, as you and I know, um, the holiday blues, seasonal
Mm-hmm.
blues are about to kick in, and so our work, we're going to be really busy trying to help our people for the next couple of months here.
No, it's crazy. You really, wrapped it up really well. What we're looking at is legitimately like the perfect storm for people dealing with mental health issues, addiction, and everything in between. Because you're isolated. They say quarantine. Some states, like my buddy lives in the East Coast, they're still like locked down. Like you can't leave your home unless for essential reasons or if you're an essential worker. And as you know, people in long-term recovery from anything, eating disorders, gambling disorders, yada yada yada, we need social interaction, a good social interaction. That's how, because the disease of addiction, however you want to look at it in any aspect, wants you alone in your own head with unbridled emotions, actions based on those unbridled emotions, and causing fear and calamity. And so that's
Right.
what we're seeing, and especially dealing with the election, COVID, the holiday blues, all these things literally are creating the perfect storm for mental health.
Yeah, yeah, and it gets dark, and we, as you kind of said, and we'll touch on that for a second. Most of us have seen that really good TED talk. The opposite of addiction is connection, and we thrive off of. We need, like, the first thing we're taught when we start attempting, right, to go into recovery. One of the first things they always say to you when you go to a meeting: I'm going to love you till you love yourself. And that's going in somewhere and some weirdo giving you a big old, just beautiful hug and telling you, we're going to make you feel loved and getting connection. And now we're back to, we got to do Zoom high fives. And,
Yeah.
we're just not, even this is not quite what people need, but at least,
Yeah.
the idea of getting on, and, my hope of getting on and having people share their stories, and coming on here in an open forum. And, I'm not saying that being anonymous is not okay, but we've got way too many people dying, and he lost out. He's going to come back. But we have way too many people that are dying every single day. And I lost my train of thought. I can't remember what the hell I was saying. Why we're doing an open forum. So too many people are dying. Um, Hold on.
I'm so sorry
It's
about
okay.
that. My phone crapped out. I'm just not
Right.
going to touch
So
anything
I'm
anymore.
supposed to, I lost my train of thought, and I'm like, we got way too many people dying. Um, Wait, now I forgot it again. Oh, what? So we're choosing to do an open forum because for the longest time, everybody thought we had to be anonymous and we had to keep addiction and recovery under the rug because don't talk about it. And yes, if you want to choose to be anonymous, that's fine, but we have to show what the real faces of recovery look like. And, we're going to get into hearing your story here in just a minute. I was homeless. I was waking up with downtown, wandering the streets all night, no shoes on waking up and somebody stole. Homeless people steal each other's shoes when you're sleeping. That's a real thing, And if you looked at me today, you don't think that was me. And if we look at
Yeah.
you today, we don't think that was you. And until we start, we could talk about stigma for a minute, because I know that it's important for you to break stigma. We have to start breaking the stigma attached to addiction. And so that's why I'm choosing to do this as an open forum, so we can let other people, get uncomfortable, hear our story and hear our truth and hear how great our lives are today and how much wonderful things that happened to us because we chose to get better,
No, and you bring up some really good points, and I'll lead into more of the stigma. But as far as the anonymous question, I think people mix up where anonymity came from in regards to recovery. My product is of my product of sobriety is of a 12-step nature. But the reason, you hear, oh, anonymous, we don't talk about it, blah, blah, because there's certain traditions that fall in line with certain 12-step groups, and they're there for good reasons, as opposed to, if I say I am, Mr. I don't want to say exactly what 12-step group because it's part of
right.
those traditions, but if I'm associating myself with this particular anonymous group, and I'm gung ho about it. I start posting pictures of selfies of me in the meeting hall with my buddies and how great I am. And then 3 days later, I relapse or something like that. The outside public has this perception now that those things don't work.
Right.
And so they're not going to want to go to these anonymous groups anymore, especially with someone like me posting selfies. They're like, that doesn't seem very anonymous. So
Right.
there's that aspect, which I do think is important, because there's probably someone out there who really is traumatized and doesn't want anyone knowing what he's dealing with, which is
Sure.
why he wants to protect his anonymity. And he has every right to do that.
Right.
Whereas me, I'm a very, um, you know, I'm a very loud nature person. I speak volumes about my personal recovery because I had no idea, what to do. My family had no idea what to do with me. And they were just Googling, like, what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so if people are more open with their recovery, if they want to be, I couldn't tell you how many times I have old friends and family members who they had the perfect picturesque lives and everything was great. I get a Facebook message or something, and I'm like, hey, I see your Facebook posts and I see what you're doing and we're so proud of you, but I have a loved one who's struggling and I didn't know where to turn, and you popped into my head. So I think there's the two sides of that, and we have to be considerate of all sides,
Right.
not shaming for someone for being, loud and proud about the recovery. That's not the way to go. But then also respecting other people's right to be anonymous if they
Right.
deem their circumstances need to be. And
Right.
then going from that conversation into the stigma of it, we've made a lot of strides in a very small amount of time. If you look at, what addiction treatment looked like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was awful. Even, most anonymous groups started back in 1939, the 70s. And so they were making great strides back then, but it was still, because of their anonymity, rules and things like that, no one really knew a lot about them. And so it was still looked upon as a moral failing, or why can't you
Right.
just stop? And, especially me, I went to school to be an addiction specialist. I'm an interventionist. So I have to kind of coach family members who are struggling with a loved one of, why the just stop method doesn't really work for
Right.
99% of people dealing with addictions.
Yeah. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard, well, it is. And I mean, just speaking kind of on that, I had a friend call me today who, and you deal a lot with this, her daughter she's 5 something years in recovery, maybe 6 now. And her 19-year-old daughter's now using, and
Hmm.
her daughter's doing everything that she did, that we all do. And she was like, I just realized today how horrible I treated my parents, because everything she's saying to me is exactly what I said to my parents. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's such an ugly cycle. And so, of course, as a parent, we want it to just stop. And, or a loved one, and we just want to drag it out of them and be like, just stop, wake up. Don't you get it? Like, you're killing yourself. But that's not how our disease
Yeah.
works. Because
Yeah.
in our brain, it's euphoria and it's fun. And there's that little teeny voice that's saying, this is a lot of fun and I need a little more. And, now we can't function without it. And, then we go and lose our house and
Yeah.
all shit, goes down. What, so you're getting married next year. You've
Yeah.
got 2 houses, which is really rad because you're in the midst of selling one. Um,
Yeah. And, just everything you said in itself, like when I hear people say that to me and when I tell that to people, it blows me away. It doesn't seem real. I'm getting
yeah,
married next year. I own multiple properties and I'm selling one of them. To get into my story a little bit,
yeah.
so my sobriety date is August 28th of 2015. And literally, you know, days before that date, I was homeless in downtown Los Angeles. Family hated me. I burnt all bridges with my friends and family. And to go from that to, finally being open and willing and honest with myself and other people of what was really going on, and being willing to take direction and suggestion and really cramming it in my head that I didn't know what was best for me. And so I needed to try something different. And I took those suggestions, a measly 5 years later. 5 years is not a long time compared to, the decade and some change that I, spent destroying myself. Shoot to 5 years later, and I'm getting married. And she's a normie too, quote unquote normie, which is even crazier. Like this person who isn't in recovery, has never been around people really in recovery, thinks I'm normal enough to marry.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
it's just insane to me. And that's where, when people ask me when I do things like this, they say, like, what is your tagline want to be? And I say, I'm a interventionist and entrepreneur. And I love saying that because I love to inspire other people that I don't care when you have to restart your life or what you have to do. You literally, it's like when your parents from a young age, it's you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah,
You really can. The recovery community literally taught me how to live. They taught me
yeah,
how to pay taxes. They taught me how to
yeah.
show up for jobs on time. They literally taught me everything. And you can't put a price on that. I don't know where my life would be if it wasn't for people in our recovery community.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good. I'm still learning how to be on time.
Right?
There's something really wrong with me because I'm telling you now, if it can happen, it happens. I can leave 2 hours early, and I'm still 20 minutes late for somewhere 5 blocks away. But that's definitely some inside ingrained, that some subconscious belief or whatever we call that I got to work on. So let's get a little bit into your story and let's talk about, like, what was it? And you can kind of go however you want to go. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to, I can ask you questions, or if you just kind of want to start telling us how it all started for you.
Yeah, I can start telling you if there's anything you want me to expand on, jump in and ask a question. So I was born in Santa Barbara, California. If anyone knows where that is, it's a really nice area in central Southern California area. It's where like the rich people go to pretend they're normal. Like Oprah has a house there, Ellen DeGeneres. Like my mom currently owns a house in Carpinteria, California, which down the street, literally a 3-minute walking distance, Ellen's wife
Oh, that's so
has a
awesome.
business there. It's just insane. And so I come from a really great family. Even my family, my parents divorced when I was really young, but I don't think that had any crazy effects on me because they were still great friends. I came from a great family. But as long as I can remember, even in like second grade, I had this feeling of I didn't fit in my own skin. I had this feeling of like, I don't want to say like I heard voices, but I literally had like multiple personalities or something going on where I had this little nagging in the back of my head of like, you're not good enough and you're stupid and girls don't like you and you're not popular and blah, blah, blah. And that caused a lot of internal anger issues that spread from there, even to, my early 20s, right up until, even after I got sober because I was still dealing with that side of anger, frustration, resentment, and fear that was literally being compounded in my own head. And so dealing with that, when I found, I started smoking weed when I was 12, started selling weed when I was 13. I went from this unpopular kid that no one wanted to be around to where 13 years old, I'm selling a lot of weed. And all of a sudden I'm popular now. Girls took an interest in me. People wanted me to come to their parties and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
cool. There you go. Awesome. This is how you do it, I
Yeah.
guess. And then I got expelled in junior high for selling weed. And then I went to like the quote unquote bad school. And junior high rumors, junior high, high school rumors. I show up to this new school and rumors had circulated that, oh man, there's Ian. Like he killed somebody and like
Oh my
he's a
God.
gangster, just insane stuff, right? And I got
Yeah.
expelled because I sold a dime bag to a kid, It's not like I was moving kilos or anything at
Right.
13. But
Right.
this rumor had followed me into this other school, and I loved what it did for my ego. I loved it. So I had to keep up with pretenses. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I didn't lie to anybody, but I didn't correct them either. I just don't talk about it, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. So and then instantly from there, I met a new group of friends. My parents were disappointed, but I got great grades, so they were just like, all right, he's just a rebellious teenager, like whatever. And they just kind of let me do my.
I think you're muted. There you are. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Something happened. I don't know how to make it work. I am not the computer guru. I will tell you
Okay,
that.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
There you go. Now I hear you.
Perfect. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
There we go. Okay. So, and then I found this new group of friends, and then I found painkillers. And painkillers did something for me that nothing else really ever did. I took a painkiller, and not only did it take care of my physical pain, but it took care of that spiritual pain, that mental pain. And I'd never experienced something like that. And like for the first time in my life, I could like take that deep breath, that calm of everything's fine. I'm popular. I got friends and girls like me. And that nagging that was in the back of my head was finally gone.
Yeah.
And that's when it really evolved from there because I was like, if a little painkiller could do that, I wonder what other things could do too.
Right.
And so I started experimenting with, fast forward from there, I had some great opportunities in my life. I studied at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in England. I got great grades. I was the speaker for my high school graduation. I
Oh wow.
accomplished a lot of things. I even, yeah, I even they kicked me out of high school early because they knew I was selling drugs, but they could never catch me. And the principal was like, Ian, like I need to let you know, we know you're selling drugs, but we've searched you. They would search me like three times a day at
Oh my
school,
gosh.
and they could just never find any evidence of it. And finally they didn't want me coming back my senior year, so they were like, you know what, we're going to graduate you early and send you to college. So I went to this thing called middle college where you finish up your high school credits while attending college classes. And of course, Ian, 17, going to college with college parties, that was just horrible all around.
Yeah.
And I ended up I dropped out of college, I think my third, well, no, actually, that's when I went to England, did all that stuff. So I had a lot of opportunities in my life. And none of that stopped me from becoming homeless, abandoning my family, my potential. I always hated when people would say, you had such great potential. I'm
Ugh.
like, yeah, I know, but that's not going to stop this.
Yeah. 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 We're
And,
deep now. We're getting deep.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting deep. Potential isn't
Yeah.
enough to salvage this wreckage, okay?
Yeah.
But, I, people ask me all the time, like, would I do anything different? And honestly, I wouldn't. I all the pain, the heartache, the turmoil, the PTSD, the traumatizing things that happened to me really created and molded the person I am today. And
Yeah.
I've lived, and I feel like I've lived more of life than some people who are like 90 years old.
Oh, for sure.
I've had more, right? I've had more experiences, pain, heartache, happiness, and joy. I just turned 30 years old. And, for what I've gone through in my life, only being 30, I'm really grateful that I got to experience a lot of life. And it's allowed me to use these experiences to share my story with other people, other family members, everyone, because no matter what, like we're all dealing with different types of pain, right? Whether it's emotional, we're all dealing with different types of pain, but it's all pain. And some people deal with it better than other people. But if we share those experiences of, the pain, what happened, and how we got through it, that's what it is. Helping other people move through life the best they can. And I'm a firm believer that my job is just to stay alive long enough to see miracles happen. And I've seen a lot of miracles happen already, but I want to see more of them.
Yes.
So no matter, yeah, so no matter how bad life gets, or, it's funny, uh, what was it, like a year ago, a little over a year ago, it was just before my 5 years. So I was 4 years sober. In a matter of 3 weeks, I proposed to my girlfriend. She said yes, by the way. I proposed. So I dropped a bunch of money on a ring. And then right after that, I hit a car, or no, I hit a deer with my car. So I totaled my car and I got laid off my job, all in the matter of literally like 2, 3 weeks. So I literally was just left there like, wow, I lost my health insurance. I don't have a car. I don't have a job. And then, normally situations like that, normal people in recovery, that's where relapse happens with
Yeah.
intense, stressful situations. But I literally just threw myself into serving other people in that time. And I ended up, just getting really spiritual, growing my spirituality, prayer, meditation, service to other people. And so I ended up starting my own company, Sobriety Wellness Services. We do sober coaching, sober transportation, youth transportation, and intervention. And then COVID hit. literally like a month
Oh,
or two after I started that company. And it's just like, man, but it's, I can choose. I do things every day that help mold my perception of my reality.
yeah.
So I can make those choices that help me see that I can either see my life's falling apart and it sucks, I'm just going to curl into a ball and die, or I can just see life for what it is. It's beautiful chaos and just move through it peacefully as possible and just having these wonderful experiences. And that's what's kept me sane for the most part. So that was a really short version of my story. And if there's any questions, comments, sarcastic remarks, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. Well, tell us, so you're 30 now. So that means you were about 24, 25 when you found
Yeah, I
recovery?
got sober. My sobriety date, so my birthday is August 3rd. So I got sober just after my 25th birthday.
Got it. And so what was so
Yeah.
so your using was for like a, let's say, a 10-year period, because you said about 13 was when you started. What was it
Yeah.
like for you? Did you graduate college?
No.
Or is that
Oh
part of your, that
no.
was right. That's where your potential, that's where we lost the potential, or your potential went out the
Yeah.
window. Um, then, so when you were home, so did you stay in Santa Barbara most of the time? How did you get to Utah? Like,
No,
did your
I
addiction bring
so
you here?
so I yes.
I
So I
want to know if you were
slowly
on
from
Skid
Santa
Row.
Barbara
That's where I'm
I
going with
started
this.
staying. I so I was on 7th in Los Angeles. Yeah. I was on 7th in
Yeah,
Los Angeles. And before that, I was staying in Southside Oxnard. I was in Santa Ana.
got it.
Uh, I was in all those places. I stayed in Orange County for a little bit, but that's not important.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, Santa Ana, 7th Los Angeles Street, Hazard, all those lovely places.
yeah, they're scary.
And then, yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, you're like, they're fine
I
for
don't
me.
recommend anyone. I don't recommend ever going there. But
Yeah,
um, I finally reached out to my sister, and she hung up on me, I think, like a lot. I don't remember. And then finally she's no, actually I remember the conversation being a little bit more civil. Like I reached out to her and I just told her like you need to get me out of California. You need to like I don't care. Like, can you guys please just send me to Alaska? I do not send me to Antarctica. Like I do not care. I just because I had contacts everywhere from San Francisco to Los Angeles.
right.
Like I remember I was in this rehab, and I went to a lot of rehabs. My thing was I was so gung ho to get sober for the first 24 hours,
Yeah,
and then right after that, I just didn't. It's just old habits and that mentality and that voice in the back of my head came right back. I remember I was sitting with this rehab, and this dude from Kentucky or something was like, God, I just want to get messed up right now. That's all I want to do. And I was like, yo, bro, like I forget where was the rehab on. I forget where. It was in Newport Beach.
okay.
We were on Newport, and I'm like, bro, we're in Newport. It's not that hard to get stuff here. It's like, whatever, man. I can't find anything anywhere. And I was like, all right, hold up. And I literally on the rehab, I walk out from the smoking section to the sidewalk, and I see a homie walk by, and I whistle at him, and he comes running up, and I said, I do my thing, and I come back to the dude, and I say, here you go, and he's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, it's California, bro. Like, I literally just I was on the street for like 30 seconds, saw a dude,
That's
whistled at him, he
crazy.
came running up, and that's where I was like, I had to get out of California. And
Yeah.
so she, told my parents what I said. My parents finally were like, well, this is the last ditch effort, right? We'll try it. And I detoxed cold turkey on my dad's floor for 7 days.
Mm,
And, crack, meth, and heroin, cold turkey.
brutal.
And yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that ever. And then, but just like any, person dealing with an addiction, I remember like 2 days before I was supposed to go to rehab, I got high again. No matter like what it just took for me, the willingness that I thought I had to stay sober for the rest of my life. And that's when I knew that it, because I would have had all these lies I would tell myself. I just need a little bit, just to like, get back on track just so I can think straight. Just need a little bit, just one
Yeah.
more. I'm not even going to do a lot, just like a little pinprick, just. And these are the lies I would constantly tell myself, or, oh, I've been sober for 7 days. So if I just do a little bit, it'll get me normal again, and then I won't have to use anymore. And it's that vicious, insane cycle. No matter the pain, the suffering, the mental anguish that drugs and the way I was living had brought upon me, I forgot the pain and suffering. I could forget in a matter of hours. And
Yeah.
then I was left with myself again. So that's why I'm a big believer that I don't have a drug problem. I have a sobriety problem. I have a problem staying sober in my own skin.
Yeah.
That's my problem. And I drive myself so, because if that was the case, for anyone who believes they just have a drug problem, just stop doing drugs.
Yeah.
There you go. Your problem solved. Just don't do them anymore. You're gonna be
Yeah.
fine. For me though, I had so many. It's funny. I had this period of time where I was 6 months sober, had the apartment, the job, the girlfriend, had these things, and then I was at work, and then it just popped into my head. I need to get some meth. Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I was off and running for another year or two or something.
Yeah. I know.
And then
Yeah.
so yeah, and so finally my parents were like, "You're going to Utah." And I'm like, "Where the hell is Utah?" And but I didn't care. Like I said, you could have sent me to Alaska and I just really wouldn't care. I was done. I the fight was beaten out of me.
Yeah.
So I go to Utah, and I was lucky enough to be in a group, get into a rehab where the other patients there were as serious as I was.
That's
Because
great.
I've been in rehabs before where it just took one person to say, "I want to go get high," and I'd be like, "Me too."
Yeah.
We would go leave together. So it's really important. It's not like it's that person's fault or anything. They're dealing with a disorder.
Right.
Um, but for me, it was really important that I be around people who, like, people would sneak into my room and we would chop up recovery to the wee hours in the night, reading different recovery books and stuff. And that's what I needed. And then from there, I just met other people in these local recovery groups. And that's what really did it for me. They told me how to live, they told me their experiences, and that's what really ingrained this life of recovery into me.
Yeah. So tell us about, I mean, you've got a lot of really cool stuff going on, and I want to touch on, not right this second, because I want to hear, I've always wondered how, I know you said No One Down is on pause right now, but like, how did that come to be? If you want to talk about
Go.
it first, I've always
Yeah, yeah,
wondered.
yeah.
I've always wanted. It's you always have, like, even when you started some other groups, I was like, how does he come up with those good names? Like No One Down is
I
such a good name, and the semicolon, and then the Once Broken or whichever that one wasn't. And you said there was a little. I was like, and that you're all the stuff that you do. You have good creative names, but like that was your
well,
beginning thing, right?
yeah. So when I first got sober, my first job was for a tech startup, and I started at like the lowest totem pole. Like I was in the customer service on like tele stuff. And I literally started at the lowest totem pole. But because of what recovery taught me, in a matter of 4 years, I was the head of retention in that group. I never finished college. I didn't have a degree or anything. But just because what you guys taught me of how to speak with people, be attentive, and be of service, I was the head of retention at that group. And then that tech company slowly got huge, actually quickly got huge, and they became a marketing firm for other companies. And me and Jeremy, right, my partner in that, we were joking about the idea of doing something. We were like, oh yeah, and 20% of the proceeds will help people get into rehabs and detoxes. And I guess my boss overheard this, and I get a call, and and he's like, Ian, we need you to come to the head office. I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? And I get into this big office room with the giant table and the whiteboards, and the three owners are there, and the marketing crew's there. And I'm like, what did I do? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, so we heard your idea. Yeah, we heard your idea and we think it's great. What do you need to get it started? And I'm like, I have no idea. So for those of you who don't know, No One Down is a clothing company me and a buddy started. And 20% of all proceeds we set aside to help people get into rehabs, pay for people's sober living, pay for people electric bills, stuff like that. And it went really well. Kalishi talked about us, Brandon Novak, we had an event with him. It was
That was
going
cool.
really, really, yeah, it was going really, really well. And we had some great things in the pipeline. And then eventually we decided, we're going to take it in a new direction. I'm on a non-disclosure, so I can't talk about what's coming down the pipeline, but we had investors lined up. We had our new plan, our model, and it was going to be able to help every, recovery group out there. And then COVID happened. And
Yeah.
we had already severed our ties with all of our, apparel developers, because we didn't think we were going to develop clothes anymore. So we kind of shut that side of the business down, and we were going to transition to this other side. And then COVID happened. So that's pretty much on pause right now
Right.
until
Well, so we're
until
looking
further
forward to that
notice.
when it comes.
Yes.
COVID
Yeah.
eventually it's going to end, I think.
Oh,
I think,
yeah.
I hope, for all of our sakes, we hope. So let's talk about, you're an addiction specialist. You do interventions.
Mhm.
Obviously, we kind of touched on this before, and I don't mean obviously. I don't know why I said that, but let's go over maybe some advice for people who might watch the replay of this, and what family members can maybe expect. I mean, obviously, we could talk a little bit more about sobriety, wellness, and what you do. So if people need your services, they can reach out to you. But like, what does that mother do when she finds out that her son is using and they want to help them? And, what during the holidays, and I'll throw a couple things out there, and you don't have to answer these exact ones, but I think you'll get where I'm going. Like, what do we tell the addict who lost her mother tonight and has to deal with COVID, and how to, you know, so my mom died, COVID's here, who knows what's going to happen with the election, my kid. What advice can we start to get in our heads when we want to help somebody? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's a
and
lot. And I know so
it's a
many
lot.
people are going to struggle this coming up right
It's a
now.
lot, and I'm trying to phrase this as nicely as possible without sounding cold-hearted. Um, People have to take care of themselves. It is unfair for me to try and help someone when I am not 100%,
Yeah.
because I put myself at risk, and I I'm not giving that person 100% of my attention, because I have 30% here, 30% over there, so that's 60%, and then I got another 10% somewhere else dealing with this. I got another 10% over there. So that's 80% of my life in other areas that I'm dealing with that are causing me, some sort of emotional response. So I'm only left with 80% to be able, or 20% to be able to help somebody.
Right.
So that's unfair. That's really unfair to the person we're trying to help, and it's
Yeah.
unfair to me and my own well-being. There's two quotes I love to repeat. Is don't take swimming lessons from drowning people, and we do not negotiate with emotional terrorism.
Yeah.
because I don't know about you, but I was an emotional terrorist to my family and I held
Yeah.
hostages. You
Yeah.
know, I made them feel insane for thinking I was high. How dare you? You don't love me and you're a horrible
Yeah.
mom and horrible dad. And I
Yeah.
robbed my parents' ability to be a parent for many years. And so I tell everybody, you know, you can help people all you want and it's encouraged, but don't help someone at the expense of
Yeah.
yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And that's really important, especially in these times right now.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's scary, and I don't know how not I mean, for not to stress on it, just because, we're in the helper business, and I'm trying to figure out how, you know, I know, like, I have a bunch of new people that are coming in and they're wanting to help, and people that we're coaching, and it's like they want to help, but it's their first year of helping somebody during a holiday season. And so people don't understand how hard it is, because suicide, I mean, we've already got, I don't know if the numbers are real or not, but we see the post saying that the numbers are 30% up.
Yeah.
And if they are, I believe everything I read. So I believe that post, but I can't imagine it not being up, just because I watched numerous people just in that first 2 weeks of March, April, when things started to shut down, already go into relapse. And I was like, how did you relapse? Like, you were not even supposed to be a relapser, and you
Yeah.
just went out. But now the holidays
But
holidays
what
aren't
you
fun.
just said right there, too, is, you know, no one's immune from this thing. And I have to remind myself that just because someone has a little bit of time, you know, I hate that thing where people say, oh, this disease is doing push-ups in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's that saying of cunning, baffling, and powerful. The only thing that's cunning, baffling, and powerful is me.
Right.
Like, I'm the one doing push-ups in the parking lot to sabotage my own life.
Right.
You know, it's not. I like to think of it as it's not some ethereal demon sitting on my back. Like, no, it is a chemical response to a disorder that it's my responsibility to take care of.
Yeah.
Because even, yeah, I have 5 years sober. It doesn't take much for little old behaviors to creep out. You know, just so a little story. When I was 6 months sober, you know, I was gung ho for sobriety and I'm going to save the world and help everyone and yada yada. And I'm going to heal the sick, you know, all this crazy stuff in my head, right? And some dude cuts me off on the freeway. And it literally, I went from zero to Ian, spiritual guru to nightmare in 10 seconds. Some dude cut me off on the freeway. This was literally right after I had just left a recovery group and I was spiritual on my spiritual high and blah, blah, blah. And I'm throwing gang signs at this dude. I'm telling him I'm going to burn your house down. Just insane stuff, right? And he drives away and I start following him through traffic. And I'm like, I'm going to find you. Just insane stuff. And then eventually I stop and I assess the situation. I realize that, wow, I'm sick still. And that's Ian 6 months sober, you know?
Yeah.
So I really like to reiterate, I don't have a drug problem. I have a sobriety problem. I have a problem, you know, with knee-jerk reactions to life. I have a problem where anger and fear encompass my mind. Like, I don't know about you guys out here, if anyone's watching, I don't know. But, you know, my mind works this way. Oh man, I'm gonna be late to work. There's traffic. I'm not gonna make it to work on time. If I don't get to work on time, I'm gonna get fired. If I get fired, I'm not gonna have enough money to pay my bills, and then I'm gonna lose my house. If I lose my house, I'm gonna be homeless again. If I'm homeless, my girl's gonna dump me, and I'm gonna be homeless and alone. And then if I'm homeless, I might as well just start selling drugs again. If I'm selling drugs, I'm gonna need a gun. If I have a gun, I might as well just start robbing people. If I start robbing people, I gotta expect I'm probably gonna go to jail or get shot soon. So I go to jail, and if I go to jail, I'm probably going to go to prison for armed robbery, selling drugs. If I go to prison, I got to click up with a gang. So I better become the leader of this gang. And then roll back to Ian sitting in traffic, and that I just thought about the next 10 years of my life, and it doesn't look good. So I start yelling at everyone in traffic, because don't they know if I don't get to work on time, I'm going to go to prison for robbery and drug sales. Like,
That's hilarious. You're
that's,
100.
but that's how my mind works. And so
Yeah.
I have to remember to stay present. I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in meditation. I'm a big believer in staying present where my feet are, because, I don't know about you guys, but have you ever made a decision based off fear and anger? And if so, how did that decision work out?
Not so bueno.
Not really well,
Yeah.
and so that's why, like, I make decisions, baby decisions every day that lead me closer to a spiritual lifestyle or move me backwards into my old lifestyle. And so I have to be cognizant and be aware of the decisions that I'm making.
Yeah. I find being present, and I learned anxiety, and we could talk just briefly on anxiety because there's a couple other things I want to touch on, but anxiety is our body, like what you just went through. You just put yourself through all that anxiety over being late, off of off
Yeah.
of fear. And I had to learn, and I swear people think I'm nuts when I tell them, I'm like, anxiety is fear based, and we have to get yourself present, get yourself recentered. You're right here. You're not going to be in prison because you were 10 minutes late for work. You don't have to go, but it's hard to get people to go there. And then to when that fear and anxiety is in motion and your brain's going, it's all over the place. How do we, get rebalanced and get recentered and focus on, no, I have a really good life and I'm late and I'm going to be fine. And this, it gets hard to do that. And I think, meditation is huge, and we have to really teach people, or not teach. I hate to say teach, but
Oh,
offer, I still hear you. Can you hear me? I hear you.
again.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh,
That's hilarious. You just went, uh-oh.
uh-oh. Okay, we're back.
Yeah. Oh, we're back. We're back. So, just I was just talking about anxiety and how, meditation is really important, especially for us who have high anxiety, and getting yourself rebalanced and recentered and finding, I think you're a lot like me in the sense of, I love positivity and I love gratitude, and I am so grateful today to have the wonderful simple things that recovery gives me. Because that this right here that we do, and we make our life all chaos, gets really, we do that to ourselves. It just gets crazy. So sobriety wellness, let's tell the people who will get on here to this part, let's talk a little bit more about that, and tell people what you can help them with, because what you do is like, you're a Utah favorite, with everybody, like you're one of everybody, like you can't say Ian Rader and somebody not say, oh dude, that's my dude, because you just really do good work. I mean, I don't even have to know you do, because everybody loves you, and that says a lot, but that's because you
Oh,
do good work.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So sobriety wellness services, like I said, we do intervention, sober coaching, sober companion, and youth transport. Um, and, and one of the main reasons I love being an interventionist and why I'm an interventionist is because I put my family through hell for a long time. And one of the things, yes, I love helping people in recovery, and I love helping people struggling with addiction issues, but I also love helping the families of those people who are struggling with them as well. Because most of the time, you see people in recovery, they go to rehab, whether it's state funded or private or whatever, they go to rehab and they're working at themselves. And the family is literally stuck there. Like, wow, a bomb just went off and it's safe now, but there's no rehab for the family a lot of the times. And
Yeah.
so I love to help them as a way of like repaying my debt to my family, helping them deal with coping skills, set boundaries. Every addict probably hates me because I'm the one teaching their family members proper boundaries. Yeah, like, no, we don't give them money anymore. Like, we don't do these things. You're enabling them by doing that. So a lot of people hate me on that side because I'm teaching the family members, how to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say, what are some of the what was something somebody said in early recovery to you that has never, that kind of stuck with you, or anytime? I mean, in the last 5 years, like, what are some things that stuck with you that you now use and tell other people? Because it really, there's those things that just
Yeah.
kind of get you, and it's just like, whoa, that like made sense.
So I'll preface that. I'll lead up into that, answering that question with, today I have a relationship with a power that's greater than me. I call God. It's my personal relationship. Whatever you want to call it, however you choose to pray, however you choose to, whatever it looks like. I'm a big believer in prayer and meditation. Whatever prayer means to you. Even if you're literally I started praying when I got sober by literally talking to the ceiling. I didn't call it God. I didn't get on my knees and pray. And I didn't do any of that. I literally would just stare up in the ceiling at night before bed and go, all right, ceiling, because that's how put off I was to the word God in the beginning anyways. But that's how I cultivated that spirituality. Now I'm more comfortable with the word God because it means something very personal to me, not somebody else. So, Lee, answering your question, one of the things that was taught to me was there are going to be days where there's no phone to call somebody else. There's no helpful book to read. There is no person you can reach out to. There's no meeting to go to. There's no Zoom meeting to go to. There are going to be days where you are all alone with no healthy, outside sources to reach out to. You're going to be all alone in the dark in your own head, which is the worst place for people like us to be. And the only tools that you will ever have 100% of the time at your disposal is your ability to pray and meditate. And that stuck with me because there has been days where I have been all alone with no phone, no cell reception, no ability to drive somewhere. And I was literally stuck in my own head with my thoughts spinning. And because of what, my people taught me was pray and meditate, I was able to slow my thinking down. I was able to focus on my breath, spirituality, to where very quickly, since I practiced this enough, those crazy thoughts stopped running. It didn't consume me. So I would tell it to anyone, is really cultivate the tools that you can have with you 100% of the time. Like,
Yeah.
really, because when those times come, like, how sharp do you want those tools to be?
Yeah.
You want them like razor sharp, ready to pull out of your pocket at a moment's notice. So I really tell people to focus on the tools that you don't need to have, like prayer beads, or you don't need a thing. There was a movie, I love this reference. There was a movie called Rosewater where this dude was in a prison and he was getting tortured like every day. They would tell him you're never going to see your family again. And he all of a sudden, the guard who's watching his cell hears singing coming from it. And he's like in his cell singing and dancing and stuff like that. And the guard goes like, "What are you doing?" And he's just having like the time of his life. That can be prayer and meditation. No matter where you put me, no matter where I am, I can pull these tools out of my soul and use them. that's what I would tell somebody.
Yeah, that's powerful, because I think a lot of us at alone time, I mean, I do that now, and I've learned
Hmm.
over the last year and a half, there's some really dark, sad moments. And, when you being in my head that I don't have to be alone there, sometimes we don't want to we're in that spot and we just don't even want to be around other people, so we have to learn how to enjoy our time together.
Yeah.
Did you find it hard over the last couple of years to like regain hobbies and find things? Because I mean, a lot of us, when we're using everything we liked or love, and when you started so young, you might not have been able to get hobbies, so like, what are things you know
It's weird. I have a lot of hobbies. But so before I got sober, I told you I went to school in England, and so I was a screenwriter and an actor. That's what I did in my previous life. And I would write full-length 120-page screenplays, and that's what I did. And I never picked that hobby back up, which I'm a little sad about. But the reason I never did pick up certain hobbies again is because I was so busy with
yeah
my new life, which is I'm so grateful for. And it's not like I'm like terribly sad about certain things. I'm so grateful that I have such a full life that I don't really have time for, old things I was interested in anymore. But I still love going on drives, and I love going shooting in the mountains of Utah. So that's what I love doing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a whole new thing. Like, I never used to do that, but I've been doing it the last couple of years
see,
with my dad. Oh my gosh, we did. I found out how to do that. Found out. I went shooting for the first time after I got off probation,
yeah,
in
preface
Texas with
that.
our family in Texas. And let me just tell you about them Texans and their guns. But now we go out and do it all the time, and it's, we go to Skull Valley,
Yeah.
and that's where my dad likes to go, and we have such a good time. What other things are fun? Like,
So
what do
on,
you guys do?
oh man, like I really, other than that, like I'm busy.
Yeah,
I run my company. I'm selling my house right now. I'm working on all that stuff. I'm getting married next year, and when I'm not that, like I day trade in the stock market today. Like I have a pretty full, crazy life. So honestly, what I'm doing during my downtime is I'm teaching myself different things. I've been teaching myself like day trading in
being
the
an
stock
entrepreneur.
market. Like, yeah, exactly. Like I wear a lot of different hats, and a lot of it came from failure, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah,
And because it taught me so many amazing things. And that's been my new hobby, is just kind of growing as a person and figuring out who I am. Like when I got sober, I didn't have any tattoos, and you can't really see it now because I don't really, I keep all my tattoos to where you can't see anything under my shirt level, just if
yeah,
I'm on like an important business thing. But my chest is blasted, my back is blasted. I love tattoos. I guess that's another thing I found out about me.
yeah, yeah. What about literature? Like, do you have any books that you like or to recommend?
Oh yeah, The Power of
Are you been
Now
reading?
by Eckhart Tolle. That's a good one. Anything by Eckhart Tolle is
He is great.
amazing. Oh man, even if you listen to like YouTubes and podcasts about Eckhart
I
Tolle,
love
like
him.
he's so because I love talking about the psyche and how my perception drives reality, and he sums it up so eloquently that you just um you you really want to listen. And it really hits me in the soul when he talks about that stuff. So I love reading books and podcasts about how to alter and change my personal perception on life.
Yeah, yeah. Just all inner self healing and really
Yeah.
like get in tune with yourself. That's awesome. I'm into that too. I got this today. So I'm excited to read this book.
Russell
Um,
Brand, hell yeah.
yeah, I'm stoked about it. I don't, and then I won't keep you much longer than this because I know you have a lot to do. And hi, Boston. That's one
Austin.
of our admins from Boston. He's rad.
Oh, cool.
Um, in jail, I could read like everybody else, 5 books in a week. And at home, I'm just not a reader, and it's hard for me, but I'm forcing myself. This is my 3rd book in like this month that I'm going to read, and I'm doing it. But this one I'm happy about because I usually read self-help books, like, or just those kind of things, or entrepreneur maybe books, but this is
Yeah.
like my first recovery book that I'm excited about. I've heard it's really good. I'm gonna unfuck myself over here.
No, I
But
love reading, I love listening to books when I'm running. That's one of the things I do a lot. I'll go on the treadmill and just run for like 2 hours and just listen to a book on tape or a podcast
oh,
or
that's a good
something. That's
idea.
what I love to. Yeah, I really like doing that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into podcasts. I haven't. I don't have. My sister likes the crime ones. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
She's like, "Oh,
my
you don't even know."
my fiance loves it's a podcast called Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered.
Uh,
And
that's
it's all
funny.
about crime and stuff like that. And she loves those podcasts too.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I will let you go. Thank you so much for jumping on here with us. This was fun. I appreciate you. You're rad.
No, definitely. And if you ever want
Anything
me to
else that
have,
you want to close out with that I forgot to ask you?
no, we covered a lot. One thing that'd be cool if you ever want me to come back on again and maybe, yeah, I can't tell how many people are watching this right now, but maybe go live again and have people ask questions or something. I'm always happy to
Yeah.
jump back on again.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. I'm learning and figuring out how all this works and if the streaming is the way I want to go, or I have a couple
Yeah,
other plans that, Cole and I have talked about including you in. So just be prepared. Cole will be
call me. Yeah,
messaging you
whatever.
probably sooner than later. But yeah, I love Cole. I was so
Cole's
happy when
my
he
dude.
did. I remember when I was like not complaining. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have time because I'm busy and I'm trying really hard not to text and drive or use my phone and drive because, dude, I don't know how I drove intoxicated and didn't crash because what I do just looking at my phone is terrible. So I like had a split second to say, we need somebody. Hi, Miss Carrie, I love you. That's my best friend. Um, but when he called and was like, "Oh, Ian, that's who we're gonna have go on tonight," I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't have time to think about it, so I was really stressing." But thank you for coming on last minute. I appreciate you. You're so awesome. I love the work that you do. Um,
Thank
I look
you.
forward to. Yeah, you really are. You're inspiring, and I hate to say it, but like you're one of the good guys, and you know what I mean when I say that. There's a lot of people. You already know. We don't have to get into that, and I appreciate you for being a guy with integrity and helping our people and helping the families. And it's not about getting a fat paycheck, because a lot of these guys are out there, and I don't want to bring negativity in there, but you know where I'm going,
No,
you know.
it's so funny because like, because you run into stuff like that a lot. And if I wanted to make boatloads of money, doing it in the recovery community is probably not the best idea. Because like, and that's one of the reasons like I'm teaching myself to do day trading. I'm selling property. There's other ways that I make my money in life, and it has nothing to do with recovery. And I'm really big on that because I don't want someone to see me as Ian the ex-addict. I want people to see me as Ian the entrepreneur,
Yeah,
Ian who does this and this and that. Oh, and he's a person in long-term recovery.
yeah, that's awesome. I
Like
love that.
I don't want yeah,
Your recovery doesn't have
I
to
don't want
be.
that to be the headline of my life. No,
Yeah,
addiction does not define me. And I'm really big on that because sometimes I'm really big on, I don't want people to pity me. I don't want people to look at me different because of my past. Today, and you said at the very beginning, like, if you look at us right now, you would never tell what we used to be. That
Yeah.
is the miracle of recovery, you
Amen.
know? And I don't want to be labeled as this, that, and the other because, I'm a lot of things. Addiction, I'm a normal person. I'm just a person. And yeah, I'm a person in long-term recovery, but that is not the thing that defines me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I will let you go. I'm going to press the end on this. It'll still keep us in the little box. But thank you so much for joining us. Love you, Carrie. Love you, Boston. It has them jumping on here saying hi. um, one sec.